You are listening to Fantha Tracks.
Because of the following special program, Wonder Woman and the Incredible Hulk will not be presented this evening.
It's time to get all your Star Wars news in a single file. This is Making Tracks. Here are your hosts, Mark Newbold and Mark Mulcaster.
It's not true. That's impossible.
Hello, Force fanatics. This is episode 198 of Making Tracks, brought to you by those fine folk over at fantracks.com. My name's Mark, one of your co-hosts, and joining me this week is a man who has been marked safe from all the negativity on Twitter and social media about Acolyte Episode 3. It's Mr. Mark Newbold. Mark, how you doing, buddy?
I'm very well, mate. How are you?
I'm great. Yeah, I'm all good.
That's a good intro. That's a very good intro.
Thank you. And that was off the cuff.
Best kind.
How are you doing? So how's things in Fanfaland, dude?
Fantaland is busy as always is. And yes, you hit the nail right on the head there. What a week to be a Star Wars fan. It's been tricky.
Hasn't it just? It's an interesting world in which we live in now. So, have you had anything new into your collection this week, my friend?
I have. It's not here in hand at the moment. I've actually already taken it upstairs. But I saw it on eBay. I thought it was really cool. When the Indiana Jones Adventure came out back in 1995, they did basically little passports, just little fold-out cardboard passports. So imagine the cover of a passport without all the pages inside, but the inside of the cover is where you would stamp the passports. And then a little card that was almost like a decoder card, and it all came together, and it was absolutely gorgeous. Brilliant. Really, really nice. So that's gone on my indie bookcase. What else have I had? Oh, I had the Essential Legends Collection version of Imperial Commando. It's very cool because I now have a pile about a foot deep of the Essential Legends Collection books, which I love, but I have to move all of the collection, like all the books, move them.
We shall move swiftly on because I haven't had anything, actually. I haven't even really looked at anything this week. Nothing's really caught my fancy. News.
Who'd have ever thought that we would talk about the latest Star Wars news? Dave Filoni talking about more Star Wars content, also specifically talking about more mature Star Wars content. He was discussing all things Star Wars. There's a long lineage of Filoni projects. But basically, and this is him speaking, the bottom line is whatever we do, it has to be done really well. When you look at something that is taken as different, like Andor, it's so well done. And Tony Gilroy and his team do such a phenomenal job that I think there's an audience for that. I think also with that audience, I also want to still be hitting the imagination of the kids out there so they can grow up and appreciate those things. It's almost like your taste for food, your taste in cinema and visuals changes as you get older. My dad had me watch Seven Samurai when I was a kid because I knew I liked Star Wars and he knew George worked with Kurosawa. I'm not going to sit there and pretend I understood any of that when I was little, but as you get older, you're like, oh my gosh, it's right there. It's hitting you in the face. You appreciate it in a different way. I think that Star Wars encompasses all types of styles and the creative of the particular story driving it is kind of the most important thing. And they should do something that's within their comfort zone. So he's talking about the specific creators, showrunners behind different shows. They should do what strikes them. But really what he's saying is there's room for more thoughtful, mature storytelling like Andor. We've got season 2 coming next year. Can't come quickly enough. What do you make of that? Do you think that now we're in an era of Star Wars when there is so much Star Wars and very different Star Wars? You know, Acolyte is very different to Mando. Mando is very different to Andor and so on and so forth. And couldn't be more different to Young Jedi Adventures or any of the other animated stuff that we've had. Do you think Star Wars benefits from having all these very, very different angles in to what makes Star Wars work?
I mean, one thing I'm going to say is why on God's green earth would we want to make more mature Star Wars when half of the audience seems to act like children? I just want to get that out there. So this is a thing, and I think actually kind of circling back around to the Acolyte kind of conversation, in some respects, for one reason or another, yes, there's definitely room for loads of different Star Wars series of different ages and different takes. But then it does seem like the moment that somebody does something a little bit different, it seems to polarize the fan base. Like we should all love Star Wars and we should all think exactly the same thing from what we've seen. When we know, probably since The Empire Strikes Back, that actually hasn't happened. It's just a fact that I think the social media echo chamber has kind of amplified that and has made it worse. To his point, I think that pushing creatives to work outside their comfort zone can sometimes be a good thing, but also not necessarily play to their strengths. So I think it might not necessarily be a bad thing. Kind of, I guess what we don't want is to be able to go and look at a series by one director on Netflix or Amazon, and then basically we just get a Star Wars version of it, and it's not too dissimilar. And in fact, actually, you could almost tell where the beats were, where the twists were. It's like, let's say if Rian Johnson decided to make a Star Wars trilogy, and he kind of basically made, ironically, Knives Out in Star Wars. You know, now most of the fan base will probably be Knives Out for Rian Johnson the moment he gets re-announced. However, you've got to push things. But yeah, I'm curious to see what happens with Skeleton Crew.
Yes.
Whether or not people are like, that's it, I'm done with Star Wars, like I've been saying about Acolyte, because maybe it's skewed a little bit younger towards that younger audience, or whether or not people can actually go, well, actually, okay, it's not necessarily for me.
What's frustrating me this week, and it is kind of on topic, but it is very much delving into what you said about the reaction to episode 3 of Acolyte Destiny this week, is that on this particular show, it's a bit of a thriller. It's clearly a thriller. And there's a bit of mystery element, and it's a new era, so we're meeting new characters for the most part, and we're in mostly new locations. So the whole point is that this is a fresh take on familiar stuff, but it's also very pivotal. You use a phrase quite often, actually, when we talk about Phantom Menace, the Gandalf line, you know, the long drop before the fall sort of thing, or the long pause before the fall. You can see that the Jedi have took their eye off the ball, and by the time of Phantom, and specifically more by Clones and Sith, that they've lost control. And they've centralized back to Coruscant, and they're not out there in the galaxy like they are in the Acolyte very clearly, which I think is fantastic. And they've just shrunk down to this shriveled husk of what used to be the Jedi that 2 centuries before we're in a golden age, and now they're not. And Leslie Headland has said, I want to tell the story of how that came to be, you know, how that happened, how that came about. So I think that's fascinating. And with 3 episodes in, good God, there's 8 episodes in this series, and people are screaming because things don't make sense. That's because they haven't seen all of it. And I know that in the Star Wars realm, you've lost some great potential Star Wars storytelling because of the toxicity of the fan base. I can only imagine what that's like when you go to big name directors and big name showrunners who Lucasfilm would clearly broach. The showrunners have had tremendously successful shows out there. You take a bit of that sauce and throw it into the Star Wars galaxy and let them go with it. Give them a little chunk of their own era, like Filoni and Favreau have got after Jedi, and just let them run with it. And it'll be amazing. And they just look at the amplified noise of that negative part of the fan base, which you mentioned social media echo chambers. I think the algorithms don't help either.
Yeah, it is the biggest problem.
Yeah, you know, so it's just constantly you're seeing the same crap on your feed all the time. And you start to think, am I watching the same show? Oh, do I not get Star Wars after 47 years? Am I missing something? And yet it's exactly like you said, the Acolyte, and not exclusively the Acolyte, but the Acolytes struck out to try and do something new. That's the only way Star Wars is going to be around in another 47, nearly 50 years. If you want Star Wars to reach a century, which it's got the chance to do, you've got to take these new chances. You've got to strike out for new stuff. So going back to this conversation about more mature storytelling, Andor told a grown-up, waggle the air quotes, grown-up story. Still got all or most, I mean, we've not seen Jedi yet. Maybe we will in the second season, but so far we've not had Jedi in the Force. It's very boots on the ground, very much in line with Rogue One. If you take out the Vader scene at the end of Rogue One, really, it's very much in that vein. If you can do more storytelling that's gritty and tough like that, then flip across to the other side of the Star Wars storytelling spectrum. Young Jedi Adventures coming back for season 2 in August on Disney Junior and Disney Plus and Star Wars Kids. It's great news. So what a great way to bring younglings into Star Wars through these really vibrant and exciting and interesting characters. And by the same token, if you do a Star Wars series to the level and depth and awesomeness, I know that's a really naff word, but you know, Andor is so well done that you put it in the conversation of this is going up against some heavy hitting real world dramas at the Emmys or the Globes or wherever it may be. It all works, doesn't it?
It does. You need to have that contrast. If we ended up with every series since Mandalorian season 1 all feeling and looking like The Mandalorian, then it would probably be a little bit samey, even after 3 seasons of The Mandalorian. It doesn't feel like it's evolved much. It still feels the same. And that's quite comforting on one level. It's quite nice. You kind of know where you are. Hell, I watched Law and Order and all these perennially long-running shows, which have been on for like 25 years. And actually, there's kind of a slight comfort in that. There's something like, you know what the format is, so it's kind of easy. But We need a little bit of those easy Star Wars wins, because that is what makes everybody kind of like reach across the aisle and sing Kumbaya and isn't Star Wars wonderful? And then also you need the stuff to challenge the viewer, like Andor. So I guess the problem they have is that even something like The Acolyte is what, $180 million worth of investment. So when you have something that really is either polarizing the fan base or just not landing how you want it to, then what happens? I mean, The Acolyte could be one of the best series ever written, for all we know, by the end of episode 8. But if a large portion of the fandom or a portion of the fandom has turned its back on it and the figures aren't selling or the merchandise ain't selling, then there's a big chance we probably won't get another season.
I just worry that, apart from the fact that there are creatives that are probably just, not just now, but in general for the past few years, going, no, thanks. No, not Star Wars. No, I'll try something else. Thank you. I'll try and make my own thing or whatever. As you say, The Acolyte might turn out to be the best thing we've ever seen and we just don't know it yet. But down the line, there could be something tremendously good. And just this monetizing of negativity, which just drives me mad, will really just get under the skin of Star Wars. And my worry is it'll make the creatives start second guessing, because it'll be exactly what you just said. You could end up with 3, 4, 5 seasons of, hey, I'm not knocking Mando. Don't think
no,
I'm knocking Mando.
No.
But I don't just want to keep seeing season 1 of Mando again and again, because you'll just go, that wasn't as good as season 1, was it? Or that space fight was all right, but where's the storytelling? You know what I mean? It just becomes by rote. It'd be very easy to make any Star Wars project, and just chuck in a load of X-Wings and chuck in some random Sith guy. And, you could throw it up. We could all do that. But you need the heart of it, don't you? And that's what worries me.
I'm pretty sure that I could go onto one of my AI apps and say, write me a Star Wars idea or something like that. It'll be the greatest hits. Ironically, some of the critiquing around Force Awakens that's what it kind of felt like on some degree. But actually, that's kind of what was needed. And actually, that film, was $447 million, just by the fact that it made $2 billion worth of box office returns, that it kind of gets a pass. That's probably the highest film ever made to date. But it's fine. If you're making $2 billion, you're all right.
Hi, this is Jack Parker, Pip from The Acolyte, and you're listening to Fantha Tracks.
So we're going to take you back to May 2024, back to Blackburn Football Club, Ewood Park. We had the chance to sit down with 9 guests at the show. One of those was Adrian Rawlins. You'll know Adrian as the Doctor in the Narkina 5 episodes of Andor. You might also know him as playing Harry Potter's dad in the Harry Potter films. We had the chance to chat with him all about his Star Wars adventure. So here's myself and Adrian Rawlins at Star Wars Fan Fun Day.
So we're here at Blackburn Football Club. I'm here with Adrian. How has the day gone for you so far?
Today's been lovely, actually. I'm very thrilled to be in front of this lovely football pitch. I'd love to see a game here, but obviously not going to happen. But it's been lovely, actually. I've met some really nice people.
Yeah.
And I'm being assisted by a lovely lady, and it's been a very social day so far. Yeah.
Do you get to do many shows?
Not that many, I have to say. And more, maybe I'll do a couple a year, but usually it's for the Harry Potter thing rather than, but it's great to be, I'm so thrilled to be in a little part in the Andor saga. And just to be a little bit in this crazy Star Wars world.
Were you a fan as a younger man? Were you a fan of Star Wars when this came along? Was it a welcome?
Here comes a confession. No.
Okay.
No. In fact, I think I've only seen the very first Star Wars film.
That's all right.
Am I going to get bad press for this?
No, you're not. Because of all the ones to see, given that you're in Andor, that rolls up to Rogue One, that rolls up to A New Hope, which is it's the perfect.
I did see Rogue One because that. They said that's the one you should watch to prep you for Andor.
Yeah.
But I loved Andor. I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was incredibly gripping. Apparently, it's a grown-up saga.
Yeah. What did you make of Rogue One then? Because you saw Star Wars presumably a while back, and then you see Rogue One, which again, as I say, is like the sister film to it, and Andor is leading up to that. What did you make of Rogue One?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I preferred Andor, I have to say.
Yeah, that's fair go.
Yeah. I got to do a bit of publicity for Andor, but no, I did. And I think maybe it's just that you can go into more depth in a series. A film you've got 1 hour 40 and so you've got to cram a lot in, I think.
Yeah.
But you just get into the character nuance, don't you, in a series.
Yeah. And you've come from this other mega franchise. I mean, there's not that many monster franchises. You can count them on one hand, really.
Yeah.
You've been in 2 of them now.
Yeah, that's incredibly
Coming from
lucky.
Potter to Star Wars.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a long time since you made them. Was it 10, 11 years since Potter? Longer than that, isn't it? Since they finished?
Well, I think. I think the last film was 2012. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a good long way.
Flies by.
Yeah. Tech moves on, and
Oh yeah. It all feels a bit surreal, actually.
yeah.
You know, because you get on with your normal day-to-day life, do the shopping, whatever needs to be done, and then all of a sudden you get plucked out and put into a morning or a day like this.
Sure. Yeah.
And you go, oh yeah, I was a little part of that crazy world. But it's been they've both been very, very good to me.
And Narkina 5, you're the Doctor, so he's got his blue stripes. Everyone else has got their orange stripes. Slightly different scenario for your character, but coming into that room, that world, that prison. I just spoke to Duncan Powell, and he said filming it felt like you were in a prison. How did it feel like for you?
Well, it was such a world, and I mean, one of the things that struck me really was I knew so. You know, I was only given the script of the scenes that I was in, so there was such a secrecy about it. And so I had no idea, really very, very little idea what I was walking into.
Yeah.
And so on the day, finally, you know, when you film, you go on set and you go, oh my God, wow. Yeah. And there's this whole machine already in place.
Yeah.
Running, you know, and you dropped right into the middle of it, which, it's a complete world, and it is very surreal because you know you do a few days film and you get dropped into this crazy world and then you're out again.
Yeah.
But it was great to play. I mean, it was you know, it was even though it was a small cameo, you know, it was at a pivotal moment in the action. So it was nice to have that leverage, if you like.
And how is that as an actor? Because it was James, wasn't it? Potter.
Yeah, James Potter,
So James is important to Harry as a character. It bolsters his journey, if you like, but it's a key role. And then you come into this, and Narkina, the whole build of everything that was happening in those sequences, and the Doctor has some key moments. So as an actor, even though it's not the front and centre thing, it's a keystone kind of role. Is that an interesting nugget to get your teeth into?
Well, it's one again. It makes me feel incredibly lucky because the weight of each character is more than the day's filming, if you like.
Yeah.
And you know, most of us, if we've still got parents, we can imagine what it must be like to lose them.
Yeah.
Some people, of course, have gone through that or going through that.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, it can be quite immense.
Yeah.
So you've got the whole weight of that, which the audience bring onto James and Lily Potter.
Yeah.
And obviously you've got Harry struggling through a world on his own, well, with his mates, his support, without that bedrock of love, if you like, or, you know, I think just to know that you're okay and to have that backing. I think that echoes the weight of what it's like losing your parents, and that figures highly in his world, doesn't it, I suppose?
Yeah. What other work can we see you in? Is there anything on the plate at the moment?
Well, retrospectively, I mean, Chernobyl's something that I'm very, very, again, proud to be involved in. I've just come out in Mary and George, for anybody who's into that. What else have I got coming out? Oh, Moonflower Murders, that's coming out soon. And you know, filming a couple of things at the moment which I hope they're going to be okay. We good scripts. So I keep working. That's great.
all good.
I'm very happy about that.
And now, of course, being part of Star Wars, you get to do events like this, which is a bonus, I guess you wouldn't imagine.
Well, like you say, it's to be involved in two of these massive franchises is, to be involved in one is pretty lucky, but two is, I don't know. I mean, that's a serious bit of good luck, I think. Yeah, I can't complain.
That's good. That's brilliant. Thanks for your time.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
For everything in one location, daily news, reviews, interviews, podcasts, video, and social media feeds, bookmark FanthaTracks.com for Star Wars news 24/7, 365.
So it's June already. We're racing towards July. We're nearly in the middle of the year. In fact, we are at the middle of the year. Where's that gone? And we've got a load of conventions to look forward to. Here in the UK, there's two specifically big ones that are going to grab a lot of people's attention. The first one, over the weekend of the 28th to the 30th of June, is Starfury Invasion. It's happening at the Hilton Metropole Hotel in Birmingham. It's got an insane lineup of guests from Ahsoka. Currently at the show, you'll be able to see Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Natasha Liu-Bedizo, Iman Esfandi, Diana Lee Inosanto, Nelson Lee, Katie O'Brien, and Omid Abtahi. There have been a couple of cancellations, but still 7 amazing guests. Bantha's going to be there. We're very much looking forward to it. Hopefully there'll be some costumers from the various costuming groups.
All being well, we shall have a presence across the weekend, which will be fantastic, raising money for charity as well. So if you happen to see some UK Garrison members or Rebel Legion Elstree base members or Mando Mercs, Rock Chi members, I think, and anybody else, and you want a photo, by all means, go up and ask for them. They will happily do it for free, but obviously a donation is gratefully received.
Absolutely. So we're very much looking forward to that. Only a couple of weeks away as we speak. So that one is all in the planning at the moment. So get your tickets because they are selling out fast and you don't want to miss this one because outside of a celebration, you're not going to get a list of guests like that very often all in one place.
No, that's just it, isn't it? It's a fantastic lineup. I mean, really, I don't think you will. Not purely Star Wars and only Star Wars at one event. It doesn't happen very often, not on these shores anyway.
And then the following week, down in London at Olympia, you've got London Film and Comic Con. There's an absolutely insane amount of Star Wars guests at that one. So Malcolm Weaver, Mike Quinn, Ming Kui, Chris Bartlett, Rissa Killar, Martin Matulis, Danielle Waterman, Nasser Mamazia, Tracy Eden, Sean Phillips, Natalie Tenya, Ralph Brown, Anton Valenci, Jonathan Cass, Owen Longwood, Peter MacDonald and Madeline Most, Paul Springer, Kate Dickey, Garrick Hagan, Anne Furbank and Julian Glover. You've got the Star Wars Zone. Well, you guys are in there and Panther Tracks is in there. Very much looking forward to that. There's also the Phantom Tours of Episode 1 exhibit, which Dave Tree is rolling out again because it is that damn good and loads more stuff. That's going to be an absolutely chock-a-block weekend. It is over the weekend of the 5th to the 7th of July. It's a long-standing place for us to go, isn't it? I mean, we've had some good times there over the years, and hopefully this will be no exception.
It's going to be a fun little weekend. So come on down, say hi, meet a Star Wars celeb or two.
Hi, this is Danielle from The Acolyte, and you're listening to Panther Tracks.
So for our second interview on this episode, we're going to take you over to Portsmouth Comic Con. And we had the chance to speak to some awesome people at that show as well, including Russell Walks. Russell is an official Lucasfilm artist. He's been doing shows for years and years and years. He's an amazing artist. So I had the chance to sit down with Russell and talk about all things Star Wars at Portsmouth Comic Con.
So we're here at Portsmouth Comic Con. It's Sunday afternoon. It's winding down in the most glorious way because the weather's fantastic. And I'm here with Russell.
Hello.
How are you? How have you enjoyed the show?
Oh, we love, my wife and I are here, and we love Portsmouth. We love the United Kingdom in general. Portsmouth specifically, everybody here is so nice and so enthusiastic. And there's nothing more fun for an artist or a creator who is a fan themselves than to be around like-minded people, right? Because we work in a vacuum primarily. I'm in my little studio with a video playing. By myself, and so it's great to get out and hang out with people who feel the same way I do about the things we love.
Yeah. When was the first time you came to a UK convention?
So I was here for a Star Wars celebration in, I want to say 2011.
Yeah.
And then I was back, then I wasn't back to the UK at all until the very first Portsmouth show. which I think was 2017. I want to say. And then I've been to every one since, with the exception of one. I missed one right around the pandemic, right after the last year, I guess.
So it's a great chance for you to come and catch up with what's going on in the UK.
Oh,
have a nice break.
Exactly right. And the trip out here isn't the greatest. It isn't fun.
No.
So we need usually an extra day to sort of get on British time. The trip back is easy. We leave London at 9 a.m. and we're back in Montana in the U.S. by 6 p.m.
Oh, wow, okay. So that's not too bad.
No, that works well.
Now, because time is an evil mistress, when I did my little bit of looking back through the mists of time, I realised I think the first time we met was at Fan Days 4 in 2011 in Fort Worth, which is ridiculous because to me that feels like a couple of years ago.
Me too.
But there's people who are old enough to use social media were born after we started, talking all that time ago. So, and I don't think, apart from the odd wave at a convention, I don't think we've had a proper catch up since. So, what has life been like for you professionally?
Well, I guess let's say in the last 15 years, been lucky enough to expand on the Star Wars work. It seems like there's always a Star Wars project on the drawing board, and that's great because I love Star Wars.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I'm an artist. I've also been doing a lot of Star Trek related work. Yes. UK publishers Titan have a series of Star Trek autobiographies. I say autobiography in quotes. For the various captains, and so I've been lucky enough to illustrate each of those as they've come out. And then in addition to that, I'm a big sports fan, so I've done in the last few years, a lot of sports-related lithos and serigraphs. And
so that variety, those different things, I think I don't know, I might be speaking out of turn, but I guess if you're doing different things and different, not disciplines, but different interests, keeps it fresh for you as an artist. You've always got to find that different kernel of what makes the piece work.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. I mean, one of the things about my style that I enjoy. I mean, there are artists who have a recognizable style that has stayed consistent for 25 years, and while I have styles that I like, I try to sort of bounce around. For me. Sure. Almost everything begins with a pencil drawing, a full value black and white pencil drawing, and then I play off that in a variety of ways, whether I'm coloring it digitally or doing a traditional painting. The sports stuff is all silk screened, and so that is much more flat and positive negative than with values and shades in it. So that's a nice change to do every once in a while.
And you mentioned digital. Obviously, it's a discipline that's coming over the years. Is that, because I'm not an artist, I can do stick figures, that's about it. Is that a quicker process? Is it just a different process? How does that work?
Well, there's two things that sort of led to that. The first was that time has tightened up. And when I first started in the business, I had time to do a full, actual traditional painting. In the last 10 years or so, that has really limited. What I used to get 2 months to do or 8 weeks to do is now a week. So that has really thinned down the time that I have. So although I still occasionally work traditionally, the problem is if I spend 15 or 20 hours on a drawing, and then as I start painting, I screw something up, I have to redo that drawing.
Yeah.
If I color it digitally, it really allows me to loosen up a little bit and experiment with things. Because if it doesn't work, there's, Command Z, undo.
Yeah.
And so I guess if I'm doing something where I really want it to have a long life, if I think that the original might be pleasing hanging in my studio or in someone else's studio, I'll still do it traditionally if I can. But I would say 90% of what I do now is digital, with the exception of the pencil drawing.
Yeah. And what's the latest thing on your plate? What's the current thing you're
the thing I just wrapped up is I did a 40th anniversary Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom piece, and that'll be unveiled at Comic-Con in July.
Oh, wonderful. Brilliant. 40 years since Temple of Doom. That's ridiculous.
I know, that's hard
to
believe because I remember it. So, man.
It's been so nice catching up again. I'm really glad we've had the chance to do this. Let's not leave it 13 years till we do it again.
Oh, absolutely, Mark. I agree 100%. Let's talk soon.
Brilliant. Thanks, Russell.
Thanks.
Hi, my name is Amy Sang, and you're listening to Fantha Tracks.
Okay, final thing for this episode is congratulations to Kiran Shah. He's been made an MBE in the King's Birthday Honours list for his work in film, and it is an extensive list of work in film. He's done all sorts of Star Wars stuff. He was the kid that had the tray of dates in Raiders of the Lost Ark. So congratulations to Kiran. It's very, very well deserved. And hopefully next time we see him, he'll be wearing his MBE.
Okay, well, I think that is all we have got time for this week's episode, but we will be back for a episode of Reaction Chat for Acolyte episode 4 later this week. No listeners' question again this week, so get writing and send them in. So, Mark, can you let us know how they can send in their questions?
Yes, I can, and here's how you can do it.
Visit fanthatracks.com or be sure to comment, like and share on our social media feeds at Fanthatracks. Send in your listeners' questions by emailing radio@fanthatracks.com. Subscribe, leave a review, preferably a 5-star one, on Amazon Music, Audible, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your podcatcher or smart speaker of choice. And as always, thanks to James Temple for composing the Fanthatracks intro, Adam O'Brien for our Making Tracks opening music, and Mark Daniel and Vanessa Marshall for our voiceovers. Tune in to Good Morning Tatooine. It's live Sunday evenings, 9 o'clock UK, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. And check out our Fanthatracks Radio Friday night rotation every Friday at 7 o'clock UK time for new episodes of The Phantom from Down Under, Planet Leia, Desert Planet Discs, Start Your Engines, Collecting Tracks, Cannon Fodder, and special episodes of Making Tracks, and every Tuesday at 7 o'clock UK time for your weekly episode of Making Tracks. And remember, Fanthatracks.com, our social media feeds, Fanthatracks TV and Fanthatracks Radio are absolutely so no Patreon, Buy Me a Coffee, Kickstarter or Indiegogo required to stay updated on all the latest Star Wars news.
And that's me done for this episode.
I think we're both done for this episode.
Well and truly done, yeah.
Until next time, everybody stay safe and enjoy Star Wars. Ignore social media. Have a fantastic week in Star Wars, whatever that means to you. And of course, as always, may the Force be with you.
Coming up next on Fantha Tracks Radio, it's another episode of Making Tracks.